I'd like to invite you all, first of all, welcome you here tonight. We're just a minute or two away from starting the meeting. And before we begin, I'll invite you to stand and join me in the pledge, and then I'll bring the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful day you've given us. God, we ask that you guide us tonight. We've got decisions to make, and Lord, we ask that you go before us and prepare one another to be kind and respectful, and Lord, to help us as a council and to certainly make good decisions and the best decisions for the residents of our city. God, we trust you for that, and we ask it now in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. All right. I'd like to thank you all for being here tonight again. This is a regular meeting of the Springdale City Council. This is Tuesday, July 14th, 2020. And we will start off by asking our city clerk to call the roll.
Mayor Sprouse.
Here.
Amelia Williams.
Here.
Jeff Watson. Here. Mike Overton.
Here.
Jim Reed.
Here.
Mike Lawson.
Here.
Rick Evans.
Here.
Brian Powell.
Here.
Kathy Jaycox.
Here.
Ernest Cate.
Here.
All right, thank you. We do have large print agendas available somewhere. Brad's got them over there if that would be helpful for anybody in the room. We're pretty spread out. We don't have a lot of people in the room. We're trying to be as safety conscious as we can. We do have also set up in the multi-purpose room upstairs another Zoom television, and I don't know if anybody got sent up there or not. It probably depends on how many people have shown up. But anyway, if we get into a situation where someone is in another location and wants to come down to address us in person, then we'll sure work with them and give them time to do that. All right, I have called the meeting to order. I've given a roll call. Comments from our citizens. Council will hear brief comments from citizens present at the meeting during this period on issues that are not already on tonight's agenda. Please just keep your comments brief. Clearly state your name and address, and understand that no action will be taken on this tonight.
My name is Larry Gibson. I live at 2600 Truett Lane in Springdale and have resided there for about 16 and a half years. I was here last Tuesday. Patsy reminded me, and Denise reminded me earlier that it's been 18 years since I've been in these chambers this many times in the same month. We got a variance granted. The Planning Commission was good enough to grant us a variance where we could recapture the privacy on the property that we live in Springdale. The reason for that is that we have a neighbor just to the north of us that has people living in a retired U of A transit bus in their backyard, and there's other people living in a retired school bus in their backyard. Now, I don't want anybody to misunderstand what I'm asking here. I want to be really clear about this. There are people that own property within the city limits of Springdale currently that is zoned A1. And almost everybody that I know there's a lot more than just the people that I know that have A1 property in town. They keep it manicured to a T. These people that live to the north of me live in some A1 property, and it is the furthest thing from that. The worst of it is the transit bus and the school bus that people are living in. The best of it is that their front yard's grown up to where you could cut it for hay. But because they're on an island, as it were, Amelia has seen it, that is that they're zoned A1 amidst other residential properties all around them. They've flaunted their opportunity to do that to the point where it's cost me $3,000 in engineering fees, labor, and materials to recapture my privacy. As you said, Mayor, I know you won't do anything tonight, and I know you can't do anything, but what I'm asking you to do, I was pushed this way by some other people. There's surely got to be a way to make an amendment to the ordinance that affords people the ability to have A1 property in the center of town. This is property just off Chapman, about a quarter of a mile from the intersection of Chapman and Carley Road, and it doesn't get much more in the middle of Springdale than that. So I just ask that someone within the council sponsor a amendment to the ordinance that exists that affords them the opportunity to allow that, the city to allow that to happen right now. Thanks for your time.
You bet, Larry.
Appreciate the consideration.
Thank you. You bet. We will, I'll discuss it with Ernest, and I'm sure other council members will be discussing it with Ernest. And, the sticky part is always, there's almost always a way, but you got to make sure that way doesn't cause you more problems. So we'll all work together and try and hit that, the right way to do it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. You bet. Yes, sir.
I have a comment.
Whoop.
This is Jackie Tobias. I'm on Zoom. I live at 573 Marigold Avenue. And my comment is right before this meeting, Rick Evans made a comment that is very unsavory. The liberal Mexican that you are referring to that's running for city council, his name is Kevin. I suggest that you get to know him and get to know if his nationality is even Mexican to begin with before you make racist assumptions. The city's watching you, and we're going to be making more informed decisions when we vote, not only this election, but for elections to come. We need more diversity on this city council and less racists like you. Thank you.
All right. Now we've got one in the room. Yes, sir. You go right ahead.
Hello, council people. My name is Pedro Manon, and I live in 3756 Laurel Ridge. And I'm here to speak and urge you about passing an ordinance for mandating masks in the future.
Okay, Pedro, I really don't want to cut people off. Are you able to stay a little longer?
I sure am.
Okay, we'll give everyone an opportunity to speak to that. That's on the agenda tonight. And as long as you don't have to scoot out and you can stay for the agenda item, it's right near the front. So we'll be sure and give you an opportunity to speak to that, okay?
Thank you so
All right,
much.
thank you. Thank you for being here.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Joe Brooks, council men and women, thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to give a brief update about the issue with the neighborhoods to the north. Here's a little brief update I've gotten, but in case you all hadn't followed it, last Friday there was a trial, and the group was found guilty of not complying with the consent administrative order. So the court ordered them to clean up and straighten up. Now we'll see whether that happens or not. At the same time, today there was another hearing supposed to be scheduled in Little Rock that got postponed, and this was the appeal on the operator that got his license jerked up there for falsifying all the test results. So that got pushed back to August 10th and 11th. But in the meantime, the group we're working with here, the Committee for Better Government, is kicking off the campaign both in Springdale and Bethel Heights to bring this mess to a closure on August the 11th. And hopefully we can all work together and fix this for everybody's benefit. It's one of these deals, the more you dig, the worse it gets. So I think Ms. Bowen would like to say a few words also, so I'll yield to her.
Okay.
You want? Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. I'll just take a quick opportunity. I think we're open enough about this now that we're all speaking out and letting our residents know, because some of our residents have questions about this proposed annexation and the vote on August 11th. I won't attempt to speak for the council, but I think I could, but I won't, and they can certainly speak if they want. But I certainly think the approval of this annexation of Bethel Heights into Springdale would be a good thing. I know it would be a good thing for the residents of Bethel Heights, and it will also be a good thing for the citizens of Springdale.
One
Go ahead, Joe.
thing I want to point out, it's not going to cost citizens in Springdale anything.
Right.
I mean, if you look at the map, we pretty well have all that enclosed. And in regard to Bethel Heights, it's going to save the average family up there somewhere minimum of $1,200 to $1,500 a year.
Right.
Because when you look, they don't have the fire department you have. The sewer rates are fixing to go through the roof.
Yeah.
You know, y'all have an animal control department that takes care of things right. The officers aren't shooting the dogs in the streets. I mean, there's all kind of things that go on up there that, so, anyway, the big thing, people in Springdale need to know, the rates aren't going up, but it will benefit
Right.
through the scale up there.
Thank you, Joe. You just covered what I was going to say. I think the residents of Springdale need to know for sure that this will not be a negative impact to current residents of Springdale, and it will really help a neighbor out and help the residents of Bethel Heights out, and I think really set the stage for some quality future growth, an area that will open up for growth for Springdale in the future. So, anybody have anything else on that? Is there anyone else who would like to make comments to the council? Yes.
Oops, thank you. My name is Charlotte Steele. I would just like to encourage everyone in this room to tell your friends, your family, to please go vote August the 11th to consolidate Bethel Heights into Springdale. We've worked hard.
Yeah, you
There's
have.
no way we can lose this election. Please,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thank you, Charlotte, and that is a great reminder. This is an election in the age of COVID, so we need everybody to make a special effort to make sure they vote, and we'll have all that information on we need to be sure we put all that out, Colby. I know you're on top of that, but we, as far as early voting and absentee and all that, we'll get all that and make sure you all and our residents have access to that information. Anyone else? All right, moving on, we will go to the item 5 on the agenda, approval of minutes. Council, we're approving minutes from 2 meetings. If you've had an opportunity to look over those and there are no changes or additions, I'd entertain a motion to approve them as presented.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. Procedural motions, item 6. What's your pleasure, council?
Move A and B.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for A and B. Roll call, please.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Evans.
Yes, ma'am.
Howe.
Yes.
Jaycox. Yes. Williams. Yes. Watson.
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Reed.
Carries 8-0.
All right, thank you. We have tonight an update. If you'll remember, the Springdale Veterans Memorial Committee, I think I called you what you are. I'm not sure, but you can correct me when you get up here, Matt, or whoever's coming up. Jeff, they were here a few months ago, actually several months ago, and talked about the possibility of a Veterans Memorial here in Springdale, which I think everyone agreed that was a great idea. Jim, I think you're on that committee as well. And we're ready for an update. I think you've got some things to show us, and look forward to it.
Mr. Mayor, honorable members of the council, thank you for your time today. We have just a few slides with a simple purpose of providing you with an update of the continuing efforts of our Springdale Veterans Memorial Organization, specifically results of our design competition and a review of our proposed path forward. Just a quick review. It was about a year ago that we first introduced ourselves to the council and provided you with our proposed plan to establish a Veterans Memorial here in Springdale. You gave us your support for this proposal and approved us to proceed with our conceptual design competition using the proposed siting of this memorial at J.B. Hunt Park. We held an event on the 1st of October 2019 to kick off our design competition, and by the registration deadline of 1 January 2020, we had 36 designers express their interest to provide us with designs. Due to the pandemic, we extended our 30 March submission deadline to 30 April and received 31 submissions in total from architects, designers, artists, and students from around the country. Our jury then spent the entire month of May reviewing and scoring all of these submissions, narrowing the results to our final top 3 designs. Now, our jury was comprised of 6 individuals, including Dean Peter McKeith of the Fay Jones School of Architecture at the University of Arkansas, Mr. Joe Weischer, the designer of the World War I National Monument in Washington, D.C., Jeff Williams, former council member and state representative, local business owner Jessica Graham, and our own Springdale Veterans Memorial Organization's president, Janie Lane, as well as Ms. Jane Hunt Mead. On behalf of our SVMO Board of Directors, I'd like to extend a great deal of thanks to our jury members who took this monumental task to heart and did a great job to provide us with the results you see here on the score tracker that was used by the jury to review and score each submission. Now, our intent tonight is certainly not to review the calculus behind the process of the selection, but simply to highlight to the council the extent of the analysis and criteria that the jury undertook to arrive at their decision. The jury scored each submission based on 11 different criteria, and these scores were then combined, weighted, and totaled to arrive at our final rankings. Our first place submission and winner of a $5,000 cash prize was Connor O'Shea of Hinterlands Urbanism and Landscape in Chicago, Illinois. The jury liked the wide open space of the plaza for gatherings and special events with a uniquely shaped granite memorial wall and flag display, all surrounded with tree groves dedicated to each service and a ribbon of water that encircles a great open lawn. This site plan shows the proposed layout of this concept, encompassing the entire available space with various landscaped forested groves, connecting pathways, an open great lawn, a memorial plaza, and an encircling ribbon of water spilling into a reflection pool to the east. As best stated by Dean McKeith, this entry is persuasively evocative of an appropriate atmosphere for the vision of the memorial and convincing in the completeness of its design thinking. This is design at its best, one that does not dictate or demand, but invites and inspires. This elevation view shows what would be the focal point of the plaza, a massive, gently sloping, 8-foot tall, at the peak, granite wall that on one side provides ledges or shelves for the placement of visitor mementos. The back side of this wall is etched with service member names and historical tapestry, illustrating Springdale's involvement in the military. This wall would provide a destination as well as a unique backdrop for special events. The concrete plaza would hold over 200 seats, while the great lawn itself would hold space for hundreds more. The surrounding groves represent each of the services, and inscribed brass plaques within the groves provide a revenue source for sponsorship or recognition of service members. Our second place submission and winner of a $1,000 cash prize is a local architect from Rogers, Arkansas, Steve Butler of PB2 Architecture and Engineering. The jury felt this compass design provided a densely compacted, prominent memorial, leaving more open green space around the memorial, as can be seen in the inset site plan to the lower right. This design did a great job encompassing numerous elements and symbols to capture unique memories and share information, including the central compass depicting histories of each service and a representation of the fallen soldier statue in a place of honor at the very center of the compass and of the monument. Service flags and numerous walls surround the compass representing monuments honoring POW MIA, Medal of Honor recipients, unknown soldiers, historical war chronologies, a water feature with etched names and cascading water into a reflecting pool below, all surrounded by a wooden superstructure symbolizing soldiers in formation with crossed rifles. Our third place submission and winner of a $500 cash prize is a team of architects, Sei Kim and David Nagahiro of CPT Architects in Boston, Massachusetts. The concentric circles of rising and layered engraved walls of this design create a solemn and contemplative experience for the visitor, with a hidden garden of life concealed within the center of these protective walls, rewarding those who journey within. The towering engraved walls that constantly change with shade and light as the sun passes over provide unique and ever-changing views. The design further provides opportunities for donorship stones along the surrounding paths and viewing areas. The design competition's 31 submitted entries brought forward a wealth of ideas and approaches to this complex issue of accomplishing a public memorial and a civic place simultaneously. All of the entries possessed a heartfelt and sincere quality, an evident belief in the value of military service, and in the need to provide honor and dignity to those who have served and those who have sacrificed. Aside from the 3 winning designs, we now have many architectural, landscape, symbols, forms, references, historical styles, and even horticultural specifications of trees and plantings to support our ongoing efforts as we move forward in finalizing a design for the Veterans Memorial at J.B. Hunt Park. As a summary slide, our purpose today was to update the council on our progress and our path forward from here in continuing our mission to establish a Springdale Veterans Memorial on available space at J.B. Hunt Park. To date, we've initiated and accomplished our conceptual design competition. We now have some amazing examples to review further and deeper, and that's where our path forward will be directed. If you agree, we'll begin coordinating with our city planners, Parks and Rec, city engineers, city lawyer, reviewing the many details of these design features, the pros and cons, city standards, operations and maintenance concerns, as well as gathering community input on these design features. Likewise, we'll initiate planning efforts for a major fundraising campaign to begin the detailed design phase. Given the current pandemic, we realize this will be the hardest part of this mission, and we're open to any suggestions that council may offer. Ideally, we'll find a local architectural firm interested in supporting our effort with in-kind support or at a discounted rate. But we'll need to start gathering the funds to support this design effort, and we're estimating $30,000 to $50,000 needed to accomplish the design phase. Once we have the funds needed, we'll initiate our search and selection process for an architectural firm to develop the final design and construction drawings needed to move forward with this project. And we hope to return periodically over this coming year with design updates, and later next spring for your review and approval of a final design, and kick off another major fundraising and in-kind support campaign to bring this Veterans Memorial to reality by awarding a construction contract. Once construction funding is secured, we'll initiate planning in coordination with the council for celebratory events for both groundbreaking and ribbon-cutting ceremonies. Again, I'd like to thank the mayor and the council for your time tonight, and moreover, your continued support of this mission to establish a befitting memorial to our veterans here in Springdale. You can find photos of all the design submissions on the SVMO website. We brought along a few folks, and we stand ready to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, we'll open it up for questions. Anyone?
Questions, but it's absolutely beautiful. All
Hey,
of the
Amelia,
designs are absolutely
pull that mic over, please, so the people on Zoom can hear you. Thank you.
I just said I don't have a question, but I just wanted to tell you that all the designs were absolutely beautiful. Very great process that you guys had, and I'm very excited to see this in Springdale.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, y'all, and look forward to seeing the plans move forward as they can. Thank you. All right, we are at item 8. This is a resolution by the City of Springdale encouraging the use of masks in relation to the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm going to just say a few things to give set to this, and of course, council, you, as always, you'll speak when you want to. But before we open it up for comments, let me just give a little background of why we're here today with this resolution. And guys out there, oh, I see you. I want to make sure Pedro was available to, when we start taking comments. When, last Monday night, I'll just start there. Last Monday night, we had a special council meeting after committee. It was actually our second special council meeting, called for the purpose of waiving competitive bidding so we could order 100,000 masks. So we've done a total of 200,000 masks for our residents. We were very encouraged about how quickly those, about the response to that, and how quickly those masks were distributed. We made some special efforts to make sure that some of the right people were getting those masks, and by the right people, I mean the right people to distribute them properly to some of our most at-risk residents and vulnerable residents. So, and besides those, we had several, obviously, that came in their cars and drove through a line and were given masks. So we're very thankful. First of all, thank you for approving the purchase of those 200,000 masks, and I want to thank, Chad may have already left. He's going to meet, I think, with the Veterans Memorial people, but I want to thank Chad and his staff. Colby was a big help in helping organize that also, and they did a great job of getting those masks out and quickly. Who knows if we'll come back to you for more? It sort of depends on, we don't know where this is going. Thankfully, I'm going to start with this. Thankfully, our numbers are beginning to stabilize and even come down a little bit, even in our Marshallese community. So I know, regardless of where you stand on a mask ordinance or a mask resolution, I know we all agree that we hope that downward trend continues. Monday night, before the special meeting, we had our regular committee meeting, and there were, I presented two options that were actually, I think both of them, I think the first resolution was also prepared by the Municipal League, correct, Ernest? I think they were both prepared by the Arkansas Municipal League. We presented a resolution and an ordinance. I made it very clear from the beginning, I had problems with an ordinance. I think many of you expressed the same concerns. There were questions about how it could be enforced. The ordinance we felt was very, very weak. But one of the main issues was that a resolution, while an ordinance would be a mandate placed by the city, a resolution would allow that flexibility still to private business owners. And I can tell you, as a former private business owner, that's very important to me. I would, if I had my business still, I would require masks, and I wear masks where I go, when I go into any business, whether they're required or not. And I don't believe there's a question about the need to do that, and I encourage others to do it as well. But we as business owners, we have a lot of things we don't have choices about. But we should have choices, at least to a great extent, about what we allow in and out of our businesses. And my hope is, and my belief is, as many Springdale businesses have already done, that the majority of business owners will do the right thing. And I believe it should be left up to them to do. We would enforce their rules just like we do if somebody came in without a shirt on and they asked them to leave. If they would not comply, we would send the police, and the police would remove them from that business and charge them most likely with criminal trespassing. So there's already teeth, there's already enforcement to what we do, but I think there was a need to pass a resolution to give our business community, this was the feedback I got from many in our business community. I don't think many of them realized they had that right and that authority, but they do. And that tells you a little bit about where we're at when business owners don't know that they can do what they can do. And so the council that night, the committee that night, suggested tabling the resolution until there was more time for study and to look at it. After that, as the week went on, as last week went on, I began to hear from individual council members. They were starting to get some concerns from the community, and it became clear to me that I wished we're going to go ahead and deal with this resolution tonight. So I think enough council agreed that we were comfortable putting it back on the agenda for tonight. Now, it was a different version than was presented Monday night. It had been pared down quite a bit. But I think that after the feedback we were all getting from our business community especially, we did some more work on it today. Colby and I worked with Ernest and asked him to, because we were gauging feedback we were getting, and it just seemed like it needed to be clearer about our commitment to our business community and to our community at large to enforce a business-placed mandate. If a business has a mandate that they require masks, then we need the businesses to know that we fully encourage that, support that, and will enforce that. So the resolution that I'm going to read, and I'm going to read it just for a minute. I was asked to just go ahead and read it, and it won't take long. It's on big paper, but it's big print. And by the way, I want to thank everybody that emailed me. I don't know, I know the council got a lot of emails too, and they were on both sides of this issue for sure. But I sent some long emails, long responses, and I just want you to appreciate how tough that is for a guy that types with two thumbs. So anyway, it was a pleasure to do, and we probably won't be done with it after tonight, but I do want to read this resolution, and then certainly just for those of you that are here in the room, the council may or may not make a motion. We may or may not get a second immediately. Whether we do or not, you're going to get an opportunity to speak, so don't worry about that. That's kind of the way we do it here. So this is a resolution encouraging the use of masks in relation to the COVID-19 pandemic and pledging support to those property owners and businesses who require the use of masks in the city of Springdale. Whereas an outbreak of COVID-19 coronavirus has resulted in an ongoing global pandemic, whereas on June 18, 2020, Executive Order 20-37 declared that the emergency declared pursuant to Executive Order 20-03 and its amendments was terminated, and that the public health and disaster emergency and declaration of the state of Arkansas as a disaster area resulting from the statewide impact of COVID-19 was declared anew and would be effective for 60 days unless renewed. Whereas on June 19th, 2020, the Arkansas Department of Health released guidance regarding the use of face masks/coverings by the general public, which asserts that ample evidence exists to support the efficacy of wearing face masks to prevent the transmission of COVID-19, including a study funded by the World Health Organization. Whereas the aforementioned ADH guidelines on masks recommends that the general public should wear face coverings in all indoor environments where they are exposed to non-household members and distancing of 6 feet or more cannot be assured. This includes, but is not limited to, workplaces, retail stores, businesses, places of worship, courtrooms, jails, prisons, schools, healthcare facilities, and other people's homes. Whereas the aforementioned ADH guidance recommends that the general public should also wear face coverings in all outdoor settings where there is exposure to non-household members unless there exists ample space of 6 feet or more to practice physical distancing. Whereas the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention encourages the use of cloth face coverings to curb the spread of COVID-19, whereas business owners have the right to establish and enforce health safety requirements for individuals entering their place of business, which may include a requirement to wear a mask. Whereas business owners have the right to seek assistance from law enforcement in instances where individuals refuse to comply with the standards established by the business owner. And whereas the City of Springdale wishes to encourage the use of masks masks/facial coverings in workplaces, retail stores, businesses, places of worship, courtrooms, jails, prisons, schools, healthcare facilities, and other people's homes, and wishes to pledge its support to those property owners and businesses requiring masks/facial coverings on their property. Now therefore be it resolved by the City of Springdale, Arkansas, that in an effort to help curb the spread of COVID-19 and for the health, welfare, and benefit of its citizens, that, one, it is strongly recommended and encouraged that all places of business, workplaces, retail stores, places of worship, schools, healthcare facilities, and other people's homes in the City of Springdale require the use of masks, facial coverings on these properties. Two, the City of Springdale and the Springdale Police Department pledge their support to those places requiring the use of masks, facial coverings, and pledge to provide assistance in instances where individuals refuse to comply with the standards established by the business owner or property owner as allowed by Arkansas law and Arkansas Code annotated 5-39-203. And then it's got the passed and approved date. That's the resolution that we're bringing forward tonight. Obviously, many times resolutions are changed at the table through discussion, and certainly that can be part of this process if there are any changes that the council would like to make. So how would you like to proceed?
May I, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
First, I want to thank all of those individuals who have reached out with your concerns. I have never had so many people take an active interest in the well-being of our city. I've read each and every email and have had many respectful and productive phone calls. The most common misconception, as the mayor stated, was the business owners do not currently have the right to refuse service and ask for police intervention when an individual doesn't comply with their requirements. Businesses do have that right today, with or without an ordinance or resolution. I have learned, however, that with everyone's stance, their ideas of what is right are different, but their hearts are all in a place of love. Love for our people across age, race, religion, ethnicity, and disability. Love for our businesses, love for our freedoms, love for those who need to have people around them wearing a mask, and love for those who physically cannot. That's a beautiful thing to witness among the division this issue has caused. I believe we, the people of Springdale, will further unify instead of further divide. Purchasing 200,000 masks to distribute was just the first step. Both sides seemed to agree that it was an act of generosity for those who did not have access to them. Now a resolution urging our citizens to wear a mask and urging our businesses to require masks is important. What is even, to me, more important than a signed stance for masks is when a community comes together. When actions overpower the written words on that paper. My idea to achieve unity in Springdale doesn't just center around a mask resolution. It centers around a plan of action, and I believe the majority of our people and business owners will make it happen. I understand there's data that backs up each person's stance, but no one's presented me with a study that shows what a unified community acting from love can do. Let's be the first. Leave here with an encouraging message to your neighbors that Springdale is going to do this because we choose to be unified against adversity instead of allowing adversity to divide us. My plan to go along with this resolution involves education, a social media campaign in all languages addressing topics such as, but not limited to, what to do if you get sick or the importance of early intervention, how to talk to your children about returning to school or wearing a mask, how to wear masks, wash hands, and social distance properly, how to build your immune system, how and where to get PPE. My second item is a hashtag campaign, something along the lines of hashtag #MaskUpSpringdale or maybe just hashtag making it happen. Asking residents to take selfies in businesses with their masks with the hashtag attached. This will entice our younger population to participate, as I've heard that that's a concern. My third point is a decal program. I would like for the city to distribute decals for business windows to all businesses with a letter of explanation. We can do a drive, a mail out, or a pickup location. Any Springdale business can place the decal in their window if they require masks. Decals should be picture only, with maybe the word Springdale. This will eliminate language barriers. This logo also allows customers to see a consistent image as they drive through Springdale, easily identifying their risk for entering any establishment. It may even persuade neighboring businesses to unify their requirements. We would have to market the concept to the public all over the city, social media, radio, newspaper, mailers, billboards, etc. My fourth point is a registry. Something not like Rogers has, but more of a Facebook group attached to the city page where businesses may post their guidelines and requirements. I am willing to help coordinate these efforts, and I'm asking the council to consider funding to make this work. I'm asking our citizens to help. When the campaign Making It Happen begins, your actions will determine its success. These are just my ideas, and I'm just one person. If you have any more ideas, please contact me at awilliams@springdalear.gov. Together we can make a difference, not because we wrote something, but because we use the root of love in all of our actions to achieve our goals. And to the council specifically, just so you know, 4 mailers every 2 weeks for 2 months would cost $54,000. A billboard on 412 or on 71B for 2 months, approximately $4,000. 4,000 stickers for businesses and whomever else, $700. If we choose to implement all of these along with this very well-written resolution, we would have to have $58,700. And I'm open to part of this might work and part of it maybe not, depending on the funding aspect of that. But anyway, I would like for it not just to be a resolution, but that we are taking some action and not just words. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Amelia. Other thoughts? We'll open it up. Al, let us get Pedro first. He's been waiting longer than anybody else to speak to this issue, and then we'll open it up to the public, and of course the council can chime in as they want. Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Mayor. And if you didn't get my first statement, my name is Pedro Manon, and my address is 3756 Laurel Ridge. And first, I'd like to thank you all for considering small businesses whenever issuing this resolution. My parents are small business owners. However, I'd like to speak as a citizen. I believe that this resolution should most definitely be passed because it is to the benefit of the citizens of this great city. As all of you know, we have an unprecedented amount of new cases currently in our city, higher than even Little Rock, even though they've got 100,000 more people. And every step we try to fight against COVID-19, we get better. However, I'm here to urge you all to take a further step. The reason I wanted to speak originally was to propose an ordinance that would actually mandate masks. And the reason I say this was because I spoke with the CDC a couple weeks ago, and they gave me information on how masks do benefit people, because not only does it stop the spread of COVID-19, but it also protects us from it. Masks serve for 2 reasons. First, to stop the breath particles from our own breath to spread to other people, and also to stop other people's breath particles to get into us. And this drastically would reduce COVID-19 rates here in our city. And a reason that we must consider this ordinance is because schools will open up. This is a very timely issue, and we need to do our best in order to prevent as many people from getting COVID-19 as possible. While passing this resolution is a step in the right direction, I would urge all of you to consider the fact that an ordinance should be passed, not only because it would protect citizens, but it would also provide relief to a lot of small businesses. Because a lot of complaints small businesses have been getting because they require masks. Our customers are angry because they don't want to wear masks in their business area. And one way to reduce this anger towards the businesses is to have the city take charge in this issue so that the city can be held accountable and not the businesses themselves. Ultimately, I just urge all of you to take more action in order to fight COVID-19 in our city, because it is a great city and the people here should be protected the best possible. Thank you.
Thanks, Pedro. Good job. Thank you. Well done. Al?
Keep my mask on.
Okay.
Okay, all I want to say is, I think you're doing the right thing with your resolution, but I want to point out one thing. If I'm right, I read in the paper, that's like Festus on TV, you don't believe everything you read in the paper, but, but I'm gonna try to. It says 71% of the people that have died are over 70 years old, 70-something percent. Guys like me, like that man over there, our city councilman. But joking around, trying to be light about this, but it's true. And two good friends of mine, Bill Muser, Pansy Gastineau, you heard them, hadn't you? You knew them. They're good folks, but they both died of this disease. Dr. Hull, he was the personal doctor of your governor, of our governor. He died. So it really upsets me when I look at that, the older people, if you get around older people, simple like me, wear your mask. And two, on the other end though, I've got another end. My son lives in Largo, Florida. He's got a 21-year-old that stays there, right there, he's with him right now, and 14 and a 13-year-old girls. They wouldn't even answer their mail. They put their mail out on the side and wait 2 days to look at it, and the whole works. He gets tired after 3 weeks. He goes out, has a party with his friends, goofs off, and drinks and have a good time, and that's a good thing. That's what 21-year-olds do. He came back. Now, all 5 of them down this week, all my kids had the virus. So it's both ends. I just want to encourage you to adhere, everybody to adhere to this social distancing and wear your mask. And I don't know how to solve it. None of us do. I know you're tired of hearing about it. I am too. But the only way to solve it is to try everything until they get a vaccine. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Al. Megan?
Thank you, Mr. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council members, for the opportunity to speak. I'm Representative Megan Godfrey, 500 Janet Street, and I represent a portion of Springdale in the state legislature. And so with that, I first want to say how difficult I know it is to be an elected official during this time, and express my appreciation for your diligence and thoughtfulness in engaging with your constituents. I know that I, over the past 4 months have really lost a lot of sleep and shed some tears in thinking about the choices I need to make and making tough decisions and changing my mind and pushing back on leaders who I respect, but also hearing really difficult stories of loss from members in our community. And so that's why I wanted to speak today. I first just want to express my gratitude for the changes that were made to the resolution. And I can tell that those were in response to the concerns that you heard, concerns that I had, that other members in the community had. And so I appreciate your reflexive and responsive leadership in that regard. But, one point does still remain, and to Pedro's point, that the resolution only uses the language for encouragement and for recommendation and not for a mandate. And so I would ask you, as you think through that language in particular, to think about the members of our community who have been most impacted by COVID-19, particularly our neighbors from the Marshallese community and the Hispanic community. Members and leaders from those communities who've experienced COVID firsthand, who've seen it up close, sometimes in really devastating and grievous ways, are asking that masks be required in Springdale. Their leaders, their allies have come to you, Mr. Mayor, have asked for a mandate, for a requirement, have sent letters, have made phone calls, have requested meetings with you and with many of you here, and want masks to be required and not just recommended. And so members of those communities that are most impacted are not here tonight to vote or to amend the resolution. You are. And so I would ask you, regardless of what you think about masks, is your personal opinion about mask wearing more important than theirs? And is a recommendation or a suggestion or an encouragement more helpful to their community than a requirement? And they say no. And I understand that it's a difficult vote. I've taken difficult votes as a leader in this community, and I understand well, like you do, that it is difficult to lead and represent a community as diverse as this one. But if there's ever a time for bold and decisive and urgent action, spurred by the compassion for our most vulnerable neighbors, then this is it. And so I recommend, again, while I appreciate the changes made to the resolution, that you would amend the resolution and the language around recommendation and encouragement, and that it would model the governor's ordinance and be a requirement here in Springdale to wear masks. Thank you. Gracias, Comotata.
Okay. Thank you, Megan. Someone else? Please pull that mic down just a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. On July 5th at 3:30 a.m. in the morning, I had a close member of my family go into congestive heart failure, and they took him to the hospital. They had to put him on a ventilator, and he was needing an ICU unit. There was no ICU units in this area, not in Rogers, Fayetteville, Springdale. They told us that they was probably going to have to ship him to St. Louis, wherever they could find a place, because there was too many COVID patients. If that was one of your close family members, just think about it. If it was one of your children, your husband, or any of your close family members, they finally found a room in Fort Smith, and they had to send him to Fort Smith. He's still down there. And they just told us that he was in very, very, very critical condition. And so we still haven't got to see him. You know how that goes. So anyway, I'm just begging you all to pass this ordinance that everyone has to wear a face mask. Because I go into Walmart and I don't appreciate people swiping up against me not wearing a face mask, because I'm a high risk myself. And you have to get groceries. And so I would appreciate it. You know, the cities all around us have to wear a face mask. And I would appreciate it if you would just think about that. And I also had another family member the week before, and she had to lay in the emergency room in a closed door unit for 26 hours before they could even find her a room to even get put in the hospital. So if you would please just think about that if it was one of your family members.
Right.
And thank you for your time.
Thank you. And hope we see improvement. Hope you see improvement. I know many have been touched by this virus, and my family has as well. Not my immediate family, but some cousins. I think they don't live in Arkansas, but they're not that far away. And just let me, I appreciate everything that our state representative has said, and that certainly that you've said, and Pedro made some great points. I just want to be clear, again, I'm not speaking for the council, but I want to be clear that for me the issue is not masks or no masks. I know people should wear masks, and I know people need to wear masks. The issue for me is who mandates it. And I will tell you that a mandate, a city mandate, is not a magic pill that's going to make people comply. I can go, I've heard reports of people that have gone to Academy or Lowe's in Fayetteville, and there's still a lot of non-compliance. Now, that doesn't mean that, I do think some people comply just because it's a city mandate. I don't want to be misunderstood. But I will tell you, it doesn't automatically mean compliance, and I believe that, that the right of a business and the responsibility of a business to require, to make that decision about whether or not to require masks is very important and something we shouldn't give away lightly. And at the same time, we then as consumers have a choice about whether to patronize a business that doesn't require masks if we think we should, or if we all measure our own risk factors, and there is personal responsibility ultimately for all of us to make those decisions. And as I said, I wear a mask to protect others. I promise you I can go in Walmart and I can stay 6 feet away from anybody, but I still wear a mask because I think that's the right thing to do. And I think businesses should wear masks, and I think businesses shouldn't depend on a city to mandate masks when they can do it themselves. That kind of gets under my skin, and so I still prefer the resolution. Of course, the council, again, I probably won't even get to vote. But do we have any other public comment? Yes, sir.
My name's Tom Mulcahy, 3826 Tower Circle.
Okay, speak up just a little bit if you can.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
perfect.
my name's Tom Mulcahy, 3826 Tower Circle. I appreciate what you say. As a small business owner, not me, as you, I understand the concept of giving the business owner the privilege to run his business the way he needs to. I agree with that completely. I agree with the concerns people have about spreading. And I do data and analytics for a living. So my concern is, please understand, I know this virus can be very dangerous to a subset of people, and it can be very hurtful. But 99% of them don't have that problem. More, it's like 99.5 or something like that.
Right.
The point is, we know a lot more about COVID today than we did 3 or 4 months ago. Right. We understand how it spreads. We understand who it spreads and hurts more. Who is the younger are actually the safest in the group. We get all this. You guys have argued and probably had conversations over and over. So thank you for your ability to make it optional. And I believe what you said was when people choose, they can choose with or without. And I think that's the best thing you can do. And there's things you can do about cleaning, washing that makes good sense. The concern about the mask is, everyone, you mentioned a silver bullet. The mask is perceived as a silver bullet. If it's not worn over your nose, if it's not worn tight to your face, if it's not the proper mask, the micron size, the filter, the virus is so small, it actually goes through the mask. You can breathe around it. So it's not necessarily going to solve it. It may stop a cough or a sneeze, but breathing in regular air doesn't solve it. So the mask doesn't solve all the problems. So that's the fear I think some people have is, if I put the mask on, I'll be safe. Well, it's not really the case. The distancing, the cleaning are still important things. So just want to say thank you for what you're doing. It's my first one. I'll be back.
Okay, thank you. And I think that brings up an important point that I think we miss, and I even mentioned it, Lorinda put it in the paper this morning, but we seem to be so focused on masks that we put aside the discussion on social distancing, and I'm concerned about people who wear masks who then don't believe they need to distance. And so, honestly, between the two, I'm going to social distance. If I have to choose one, or if I'm in a position where I can only do one.
And I would agree, the social distancing and the problem with good hand hygiene and mask hygiene. If people wear gloves, they touch everything, and that becomes it's one of those things where you feel better about it, but it really is actually putting yourself at more risk. Right. And I understand there's people that need to do that, but there's a lot of things that we can do that make a huge difference. So I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you. Yes, Misty.
All right, can you guys hear me okay? All right, I'm leaving my mask on.
So my name is Misty Orpin. Do I need to give my address, or are we good? Okay.
Everybody, okay?
Okay. I prefer not to give it. I've been very vocal about that, and that's led to some negative feedback, and so I don't like to share that if I don't have to. So I want to start by saying I am incredibly moved by the stories that I've heard here tonight and that I hear every day. I have a web platform that really has connected with people about COVID around the state of Arkansas, and I get the most heartbreaking emails and messages that you can imagine, like you've heard here today. And it tells me that we've never been in a situation like this, not in my lifetime, not in many of your lifetimes. If there was ever a chance to lead, this is it. This is why you're here. If there was ever a time to be brave, this is it. This is your chance. This is what we expect from our government, is to be brave in situations like this. It's time to be uncomfortable because a lot of our neighbors are uncomfortable. I have a family member who works as a respiratory therapist in a hospital, and he puts people on vents all day long. And he doesn't give me personal information about them, but I know generally what he's seeing, and it's so sad. And those are people that I live beside. They're our friends, and they're our neighbors. And Amelia mentioned that we need to embrace the community with love right now. But I say it's not just love, it's also kindness. What's the kindest thing that I can do for my neighbor right now? What's the most respectful thing that I can do for them? And that's to wear a mask. And I know that you guys are all saying you're pro-mask, but I also noticed that none of you are wearing masks. I'm wearing my mask. I know you have them, and I know you're distanced, but it still makes me uncomfortable because we know that the particles, science shows that to a certain degree that they're aerosolized. And while there's, a lot of discussion on what exactly that means, it does mean that I'm safer when you're wearing a mask, even if we're farther apart, and you're safer when I'm wearing a mask. Now, it was mentioned that there's data on both sides of the issue, but the health professionals only support the data on one side of the issue. Our governor only supports the data on one side of the issue. The Arkansas Department of Health, the CDC, all the people that you mentioned in your resolution support the data on one side of the issue, and that's that that masks keep us safer, all of us. All right? I do want to point out the UAMS models show the efficacy of masks, that in late September, there will be 20,000 new cases a day in Arkansas if we don't wear masks. If we do wear masks, there will be 6,000 new cases a day in Arkansas. So you can see the dramatic impact that wearing a mask can have on our communities. That's hugely important, especially in Springdale, which, as last week we saw, has the most active cases of any city in the state. And I've done a lot of research into the death rates around the state, and Springdale residents are dying at higher rates than residents from other cities, and that's because we've got a lot of healthcare disparities. So you guys are in one of the most important positions in this state. Y'all have a higher burden to keep people safe than other cities even do in Arkansas. So I ask you to pass this resolution because it's a great start. It's such a good start, and I appreciate the amendments that you made to it that support local businesses. Because as the governor said, it's important for businesses to have some degree of leeway. But I also want to talk about passing the buck to a certain degree. The governor's not doing a mask mandate. He's passed the buck to cities. What cities are doing is they're passing the buck to the businesses. And businesses like mine don't have a choice of whether or not to require masks. We have to require masks. And we know that the state is cutting down on businesses that aren't complying with their guidelines. So we could lose our license if we don't do that. So we need help from you, and we'd like for you guys to take some of the responsibility that our service workers
who don't make enough money to deal with that are having to deal with on a daily basis. So pass this resolution, but don't stop there. Give us an ordinance. Give us a requirement. Help us more. It's not either or, it's yes and. Let's start here. Y'all did a great job of listening to feedback. Let's keep going. Let's keep that conversation going, and let's see what more we can do to protect our citizens in Springdale and be a model of leadership for other cities around the state of Arkansas. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk.
Thank you, Misty. Do we have anyone else? If not, I'm sorry. Do we have anybody on Zoom that would like to address the council? Okay.
I would.
Go ahead.
My name's Sonia Kirsch. I live in Springdale, but I work in Fayetteville. Fayetteville has a city ordinance. And I feel more confident taking my business to Fayetteville or a neighboring community where the administration has put public health first. Unfortunately, we have citizens in our community who will not think beyond themselves and think about helping the community at large. If I go into an establishment in my town and I would much rather spend my tax money and my money putting it back into Springdale's economy, and the bulk of the people there are not complying, I turn right around and leave. I have an 80-year-old mother-in-law. I have a husband who's immunocompromised, and unfortunately, I cannot rely on my fellow citizens without a nudge and your help to look out for the rest of the community. So I take my business to Fayetteville, where I know I'm protected by their city government.
Okay.
I would like for you to look at the broader picture of what it might mean for the businesses and the people who live and earn money in Springdale. Your business person who spoke earlier, they're right on the money. They don't have a choice. They do what they must to protect their employees. But they need a guiding hand from you to help them protect their employees and the citizens from themselves.
Okay. Sonia, thank you. I do have one comment, just an encouragement, regardless of what the council decides tonight on this resolution. I do hope that you will, there are many businesses, and this kind of goes to Misty's point. There are many businesses in Springdale that require masks now. I hope you will patronize those businesses for doing the right thing. And of course, every restaurant does, in any city. As Misty said, they've all got the same rules.
Right.
So I hope, even if this doesn't go the way you want tonight, I hope you'll continue to patronize our local businesses who have chosen to do the right thing. Let's reward them.
Well, I do, but there's only so much that is within their hands. If they have people who choose to come in and force their hands, what are they expected to do?
They have it all within their hands. In fact, they have more power under this resolution than they do under the ordinance that the governor approved.
They can call people and call them out for trespassing. They can have them removed.
That's right. That's more than the ordinance allows. The ordinance allows the police to encourage and educate, and no guidance past that.
I don't see any reason why they can encourage and educate in addition to remove people for trespassing.
Well, I think that's eventually the way it would end up, but the point is, at worst, it's the same, ability to enforce.
Then by that argument, then there's no harm in passing the ordinance, if that's the worst.
There's no harm except the major harm and the major sticking point with me, and I think with the council, and that's who mandates it. The business has the right, I believe, to make those decisions for their business, and then they live with the consequences if people don't want to patronize their business.
And that's right. And if you look at the chamber and the city council and Springdale as a whole, as a business, you have a right also to suffer the consequences when people don't shop in the community.
Absolutely.
That much is partially on you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Any other comments?
I would like to make a comment. This
Okay.
is
Hey, Tiffany.
Kelby. Hi. I am at 301 Michael. I don't know if I need to give my address here since I'm on Zoom, but I am.
You already did.
Ready?
You already did.
Yes. So I'm coming to this discussion with a different perspective entirely. I've found the stories that we've heard really interesting and some terribly heartbreaking. But, first I want to acknowledge the effort that you guys made to pass out so many masks in Springdale. Just like Megan and Misty expressed, I'm also really grateful for the updates to the resolution that you made compared to the original version that was published. I would like to know if the council members consider the language in this resolution to be strong enough to get our town off the Department of Defense travel ban list. You should all be aware, the council should be aware, because I sent an email to everyone on Saturday that my son, who's serving in the Army, had to miss coming home for leave for 2 weeks this summer because Springdale is on a national travel ban list by the DoD. And that's along with a handful of other metro areas in other states. The entire state isn't banned, just our area. If we lived anywhere else in this state, we would be spending 2 weeks with our son right now. Instead, we've been able to see him a total of 8 days in the past year since he graduated high school. I think it's interesting that tonight, part of the meeting is about building a veterans memorial. As a military mom, it's my primary goal for my son to be able to come home and rest and see his family and friends before he deploys next year. Otherwise, it's going to be a very, very long time before he gets that chance again. It takes more than a memorial to support troops. It takes action. I understand that there are challenges in enforcement, but a simple suggestion to wear masks is not working, as evidenced by the rising number of infections and the fact that we are number one, like Misty mentioned, number one in this state for COVID-19 virus. I appreciate that this resolution gives small business owners more control, but what about keeping people safe in large businesses like Walmart and Lowe's? Because people are there all the time, and it is very difficult to be socially distant in those areas. I believe we need an ordinance to support mask wearing in small businesses and large businesses. My heart breaks for the stories that we've heard this evening, and it makes me grateful that my son will be able to come home someday, that I don't have to worry about him not coming home from the hospital. I just want him to be able to come home and visit. Springdale leadership needs to take assertive action now to make sure that the service people with family in Springdale get to come home for the holidays. It's going to take that long to get our numbers down and get us off this travel ban list. If the Department of Defense says our infection and hospitalization rates are too high, then they're too high. It doesn't matter what anybody's personal opinion about that is. We need more than a resolution that helps small businesses enforce wearing masks. So I am asking you to consider making an ordinance. And that is all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Tiffany, and please thank your son for his service as well on behalf of the city of Springdale.
If I can just say,
Yes.
everybody can thank me for his service. They can thank him for his service by wearing a mask in Springdale.
Thank you. Colby? Just to address, I think we've got some encouraging news. You've been pouring through the CDC report. Give us the numbers you gave during committee or during department head meeting this morning. They're not where we want to be. We're not through this. We're not ready to say it's good. There are a lot of people in Springdale still suffering, and we understand that. But it is important that we recognize when the numbers are going the right way.
Mayor, I was actually just looking those numbers up a few minutes ago. According to the CDC, for those of you who aren't aware, the CDC sent a team here to Northwest Arkansas, and they spent a considerable amount of time here analyzing. They just came out with a field report, and we can make that available to you. We've gone through most of it today. We're going to still spend some time the rest of the week going through it. But one thing that we noted was in our peak on June 29th, in Washington County, they only give us Washington County in this statistic, we had 1,180 active cases, and as of July the 13th, we had dropped to 734. And so my hope is that the action of the council in purchasing the 200,000 masks was one of the most proactive things we could have done, and maybe attributed the decline to that as well.
Okay, thanks, Colby. Sure, Misty.
So I spent 2 days romanticizing that report, and they did say that the more recent numbers will go down because they didn't have all of the tests back yet, so that could be part of the decline. Also, Washington County did its lowest amount of tests last week or the last couple of weeks than it had done since May, so we're doing less testing as well. So.
That's true, and we are all frustrated with the way the tests are going. Any other comments or questions? I'll open it back up to the council. Y'all been pretty quiet.
I have a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Laura Villegas, and I live in Springdale at 5005 Bonita Place, 72762. And I'm in agreement with everyone who has spoken tonight so eloquently in favor of you passing an ordinance mandating mask wearing in businesses. It seems to me that if you can offer support in enforcing to voluntary businesses that are voluntarily doing this, you can also offer that same support to businesses that you mandate to do it. That doesn't seem to be a problem. I don't feel that it's going to be very effective to spend all that money that the councilwoman, I realize that you have gone to a lot of trouble to produce your active plan, but I don't have much faith in trying to convince the populace to show more love and kindness, frankly. And we would be spending a lot of money in the attempt to do that. Voluntary compliance with mask wearing in businesses is not working. And the numbers are not really going down, they're going up. If you look at that report you mentioned, I don't believe Arkansas came off very favorably at all. And in another report I saw, they gave Arkansas a grade of F for our effort to slow the rate of infection. And UAMS projects that this is going to keep going up until practically October, with more and more people infected, with the probability rate of at least half of us, if we keep going the way we're going, at least half of us becoming infected. Well, I'm also a vulnerable person because of my age. I'm 77. I frankly am not going to venture inside any Springdale business that I don't know is mandating masks and has a way to enforce that. Okay?
Well, as we've made clear, they will have a way to enforce it.
Well, but they would if you mandated it as well then. You can offer the same help. I don't see any problem with that. If you need money to do that.
I think I've acknowledged that either an ordinance or a resolution will be enforced ultimately the same. I'm just saying the way the ordinance is written, it has weaker enforcement than what we do already.
Okay, well, to offer as proof that voluntary compliance with this is not going to work is you guys up front. You're not wearing masks, and I don't believe that you're 6 feet apart, frankly. So I don't even see you guys complying with the CDC requirements for being indoors at a meeting. And I imagine you have more than 10 people in there. So
you can have more than 10.
Yes. Excuse me. In any case, I just want to add my voice that I don't think you would be taking enough action to help out the Springdale population, to keep us safe by just encouraging and hoping that people will comply. I think a mandate is the the strongest thing you can do, and you should do that because we don't have that much time. It's already late in the game, Ken.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Council?
Doug, I want to acknowledge everybody who has reached out to me through emails and phone calls. I appreciate them. I've gotten some that were a little bit bad. I've gotten a lot of good, positive with how the city of Springdale, how we have come about and trying to help curb this virus by our efforts with the 200,000 masks that we've done. I'm very encouraged with our council of how we have rewritten this resolution versus what was presented to us from the Municipal League. This takes a lot of consideration with everything that we've heard tonight. It's in here. The word mandate, just because a word is not in there that the city will mandate, we are affording our businesses our 100% support because everyone who made contact with me referenced Walmart. Every one of them, Walmart. If our Springdale Walmart wants 100% compliant on masks, and there's one individual in there, or two, or three, or 100 that do not comply, and Walmart lets our defenders of Springdale know, they will go out there and they will take care of it. And that's what this resolution states, okay? Today, the governor said that we have 6,510 active cases in the state of Arkansas. In the state of Arkansas. And if you look at our population, that's 0.2%. 0.2%. Any cases is too many. Let me make that perfectly clear. The governor on July the 9th finally sent out numbers for cities who have active cases. And as of July the 9th, Springdale had 641 active cases. And this is information straight from the governor, straight from the Arkansas Department of Health. When I look at this and I take 641 active cases and using the data that I found that the latest census is we have 81,000 people, that shows that we have a 99.2% negative. And we were the top city on the list. All of the top 10 cities, except for one, is in the 99.2% or higher. The one city being Danville, which was 96%. This resolution has spent a lot of time, and we've gone over, looking at hard numbers. You have to look at the data, the hard numbers that we have. And even today, the governor said that in Little Rock, where they have a mask mandate versus city of Bentonville, that as of today does not have a mandate, Little Rock had a spike. Bentonville had a decline. I'm not 100%, it's about the mask. Based off the data. A lot of people have to make their decisions off the data. I don't like it as much as anybody else that we're having to fight this Chinese coronavirus. We didn't want this. They brought it over. The communist Chinese, and I am bold to say that. And we're going to do everything we can to fight it. Our bodies fight viruses.
You don't have to use
Naturally.
racism.
Our bodies fight viruses naturally. There's a lot more than just coronavirus out there. There's all kinds of viruses, diseases, bacteria, but our bodies are designed to fight these things. How do you know that? Well, here's how I know that. We've had 28,939 confirmed cases as of today and 22,106 recoveries straight from the governor. So I know that our bodies are doing what it can do to adapt to help create immunities to this virus. I want everybody who goes into a business to wear a mask. I want everybody who is not able to stay 6 feet apart, with this magical 6 feet. I don't understand what that is. I don't know if a virus has a tape measure and it goes, oh, you're 6 feet, I'm not going to bother you. It's just a number that's been put out that has been just used. But you can't, if you can't social distance, if you go into a building, wear a mask. And I don't know what else we have to do by just saying a word, mandate. So I appreciate this council by looking at hard numbers. And Megan, I wish the governor would send out more on cities that we can see trends. It would be nice if Springdale goes from 641 to 541, that'd be great. If it goes up, it would be great. It would be nice if we'd see the trends. But one time the governor has sent us these results. Why? I want to make sure these numbers are accurate numbers. I don't want them to be made up numbers. Do we have false positives? Are there false positives? I guarantee you there's false positives. But what are the numbers? So based off the data, based off all the information that people have provided me, provided this whole council, provided the mayor, as hard as we have worked on this, as hard as we tried to pass out 200,000 masks to people, and if we have opportunities to do more, we're going to do more. This isn't an end. This is a good foundation to build. And so you've got to start somewhere. And that's what we're trying to do, is start somewhere. And that's where I think this resolution helps us to have a foundation. You always build on a stable foundation. If your foundation is weak, you're not going to be able to build. But this provides us a stable foundation. And based off that, I would like to make a motion to approve this resolution as written.
Second.
I hope the city, our residents will understand that we are working hard.
Residents don't understand your racism, Councilman. There's no need to classify this as a communist Chinese coronavirus. It's called COVID-19. Use scientific language, council member. You too will be voted out soon. We are paying attention. We are outraged. You do not need to bring your conspiracies to the table.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Did we get a second from Amelia?
You are a racist, sir.
Thank you.
You are a racist.
Thank you. Any other comment or questions? Denise?
Evans?
Yes, ma'am.
Howe?
Yes.
Jaycox?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
Overton?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Lawson?
Yes, ma'am.
Carries 8-0.
All right, thank you. We'll move on now to item 9, Planning Commission report and recommendations. Patsy, you still here? All right.
The first item on the agenda is an amendment to the ordinance, to the zoning ordinance in Article 6, Chapter 3.16, and this is a section on mobile vending units. And as we discussed when we talked about mobile vending units when we started, when we talked about food trucks, there might become a time when we want to do something different in the downtown. And what we're seeing now is we don't necessarily have food trucks that want to come in and stay for permanently. Some of them do, some of them don't. They want to be here longer than 3 hours, because you can come in and stay 3 hours and move around it still. They're not always here for a special event. So what this would do would be exempt mobile vendings in the downtown district as established in the form-based code and allow for those units who want to come into the downtown area to submit an application to the events committee of the Downtown Springdale Alliance, and they control where those go in, using some of the same guidance we use for the other. It doesn't take the 45 days that it takes to go through the conditional use process. So that it makes it a little bit easier in the downtown area for the time being. If they want to come in and set up permanently, they have to get a conditional use. If they want to do a food truck, it's still the same process that everybody else uses. But if you want to come in and test out a food type or something in the downtown area for a shorter amount of time, you go through the Downtown Events Committee, and it's not necessarily an events. So the title of the ordinance reads, an ordinance amending Article 6, Section 3.165 of the zoning ordinance of the City of Springdale, Arkansas, and for other purposes. And we did have a public hearing before the Planning Commission last week and didn't have any comments on the ordinance itself.
Patsy, how long do they have before they have to make formal application?
This doesn't set any time frames for anything like that. If they want to stay 6 months, if they want to stay a year, anything like that. You know, that's something that we could kind of see what's happening. If it becomes more permanent, if they want to hook up to power and water and that kind of stuff and become permanent, then it's not the same kind of thing. It's not mobile vending. They got to come in and be able to contain everything that they have themselves and be able to move around.
So it would be an indefinite time then if they were self-contained, they could
That's correct.
come in for however long.
That's correct. I don't think we're going to see that happen, because if they're going to come in and set up like the one that's over on Main Street, they want it hooked to power, they have all that stuff hooked up, and so they did a conditional use for that one.
But they can't do that anywhere else in the city, it's just downtown?
Well, right now, they have to come in as a mobile vending unit and get a conditional use to operate in those locations. In the downtown area would be the only place that instead of going through the 45-day process it takes at Planning Commission, they go through the events committee that meets once a month, and it goes a little bit faster. And we're trying to help generate getting food services in downtown to help.
So the Planning Commission basically is passing approval on to the downtown committee versus the Planning Commission to make those decisions, correct?
That's correct, because it's not a permanent conditional use. Correct. And I read the title of the ordinance.
You have read it?
I read the title,
Okay.
yes, I did.
Move the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
Okay. Go ahead, Kathy.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, I know you can hear me, you're right there. To Mike's point, should there be
Into the microphone, please.
I'm sorry, that's what I was asking. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
This is good, sorry. To Mike's point, should there be some sort of a limit, time limit, for these people to test their,
Concept.
that's a good word. thank
Well,
you.
I don't know
I'm
that,
just
in our
asking.
discussion, we didn't come up with any time frame. Is 6 months too long? Is 6 months enough time, depending on the situation and the time of the year? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. I mean,
Does the DSA have the ability to cut their time short if they're not doing certain things?
I think they would. I mean, in the events that we have now that they approve, they set the time limits
Right.
for it and the conditions and where
Right.
they're going to be and all that kind of stuff. I think maybe we could test it for a little while and see if we have a problem. We may have to come back and amend it after we see what's happening.
Of course, the whole function of the Downtown Alliance is to promote business. So if in fact they're doing something that hurts their businesses, it'd be up to them to take action to rectify it. So if someone didn't comply with what was expected of them, they could take action quickly. It'd been their benefit to protect the other businesses to do so.
Yes, and if it becomes a problem, then we're going to have to come back and change the process that we're using. You know, as we've just been talking about, we're in strange times, and we're trying to step out there a little bit and kind of help things move along a little bit, because we're not seeing permanent restaurants come in right now. And I think this gives a way for people to come in and test to see how it's going to work and what are the good locations. And as we bring people back to offices over the next several months, maybe that helps some of that. And that's kind of what we're trying to keep things going. Keeping the momentum going is the idea.
Patsy, what's to stop us from allowing that throughout the city? Because I think it's not just a problem in downtown, it's really a problem, across our city, that there might be restaurants that are closing, that are not going to reopen,
I guess the quick answer is we don't have an organization to do
Yeah.
the rest of the city.
Don't have a
We had
mechanism.
a body that works on and concentrates on downtown and trying to stimulate it. And as of right now, we don't have anything else other than going through the planning commission. And maybe we need to look at a shorter process for the rest of the city. I could go back and come back with some ideas of how we could do that. I don't know.
But it's
We'll have
it's a
to-
good
we'll have
start
to
as
give
a
that some thought.
prototype.
Yeah, it is.
So
And-
that's,
and
I think
and
that's.
it's a great thing.
That's why I think it's a good start in the right direction to
Absolutely.
offer opportunities to support business coming into Springdale.
Absolutely, and I think,
I do.
I hope maybe we can expand upon that a little
Yeah,
bit.
we'll do some research and see if we can come up with some other mechanism. We just had an organization that we knew we could do this, and there has been several people call and talk about, well, I'd like to have a food truck, but I don't want to go through that process of setting it up permanently, but 3 days is not long enough.
Right.
They want to test it a little bit longer. So that's kind of where we are with this. So,
It'll be interesting to see how this comes about.
We got a motion in a second.
yeah, we got a motion and a second already. Yeah.
Go ahead, Brian. What did you ask?
I said this will be interesting to see how this comes about, because this is a great need.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any further comment? Denise?
Powell,
Yes.
Jaycox?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Watson? Overton?
Yes.
Reed? Lawson?
Yes, ma'am.
Evans?
Yes, ma'am.
Carries
Emergency clause be adopted.
Second.
Jaycox?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Watson? Overton?
Yes.
Reed? Lawson?
Yes, ma'am.
Evans?
Yes, ma'am.
Powell?
Yes.
Both the ordinance emergency clause carry 8-0.
The next item is a replat of lots 1 and 2 of Parkway Plaza subdivision. The Planning Commission reviewed this application.
Sorry, I forgot something, didn't I?
What was that?
B. Item B.
Item,
Oh, okay, yes, you didn't announce that we tabled the cottages at the park final plat because the street improvements are not at the level they need to be.
Right.
We need to table that for at least 2 weeks to see. I know the contractor's out there working, and we may be in a better position in 2 weeks than we are today. So I'm sorry, I forgot to that.
yeah, I was supposed to bring that up at the
Yeah.
beginning of the meeting in case anyone was here. I don't think they are, but,
Do a motion to table.
so we need a motion to table.
Go ahead and do a motion. to
Entertain a
table.
motion to table this for 2 weeks.
So moved.
Okay, motion and a second.
Second.
Yeah, okay.
Safe.
Roll call, please.
Williams?
Yes.
Watson? Overton?
Yes.
Reed? Lawson?
Yes, ma'am.
Evans?
Yes, ma'am.
Powell?
Yes.
Jaycox?
Yes.
Carries 8-0.
Okay, sorry, we both forgot.
I did too.
Okay, now we're to the replat of lots 1 and 2 of Park Plaza subdivision. This is a subdivision in which Highlands Oncology is part of that subdivision, and I'm happy to report they're getting really close to get their C of O, and I had an appointment with one of the doctors this morning, and they're all very anxious to move to this new location in Springdale, so it's moving along really well. Planning Commission reviewed this request and recommends approval of this replat. The title of the ordinance reads, an ordinance accepting the replat of lots 1 and 2 of Parkway Plaza subdivision, a commercial subdivision to the city of Springdale, Arkansas, declaring an emergency.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further comments or questions?
No, but if you haven't seen the sign, the new sign that they've put out, it's really nice. You
Yep.
should drive by and take a look.
Looks great.
It meets the overlay
They meet the
district
overlay district.
requirements, too.
Good. All right, roll call, please.
Watson? Overton?
Yes.
Reed? Lawson?
Yes, ma'am.
Evans?
Yes, ma'am.
Powell?
Yes.
Jaycox?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Second.
Overton?
Yes.
Reed? Lawson?
Yes, ma'am.
Evans?
Yes, ma'am.
Powell?
Yes.
Jaycox?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Watson?
Both the ordinance emergency clause carry 8-0.
The next item is a waiver request of subdivision regulations and the subsequent waiver of street improvements, drainage, curbs, gutters, and sidewalks on this piece of property on Monitor Road. The property was split just over 19 years ago to split one track, and now they want to split that one track into 2 additional tracks, which makes it meet the definition of a subdivision. And if it is a subdivision that they have to do the street improvements, the Planning Commission is recommending approval of this waiver of the street improvements, curbs, gutters, and sidewalks for this piece of property. It's at 3543 Monitor Road, and Planning Commission is recommending option 1. Title of the resolution reads, "A resolution approving a waiver of street improvements, drainage, curbs, gutters, and sidewalks is set forth in ordinance number 3725 to 3543 Monitor Road in connection with lot split 2024, a lot split for Hillside Ranch LLC. And both of the tracts to be created are more than 5 acres."
I'll move the resolution pass with option 1.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval with option 1, right? Any other questions or comments? Okay, Denise?
Reed? Lawson?
Yes, ma'am.
Evans?
Yes, ma'am.
Powell?
Yes.
Jaycox?
Yes.
Williams? Watson? Overton?
Yes. Carries 8-0.
Street and Capital Improvements Committee, Chairman Rick Evans. Rick?
Yeah, we meeting last week, Street CIP, we have 2 resolutions on the agenda tonight, and both of them are recommended from the committee for approval. And the first one is a resolution accepting the guaranteed maximum price for the construction of Spring Street improvement between Johnson Avenue and Huntsville Avenue, project number 18 BPS 10. This is the milestone for $1.659 million for the upgrade on the streets.
I'll move the resolution pass.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further comments or questions? This is for people watching at home. This will come out of our street bond money. Okay, roll call.
Lawson?
Yes, ma'am.
Evans?
Yes, ma'am.
Powell?
Yes.
Jaycox?
Yes.
Williams? Watson? Overton?
Yes.
Reed?
Carries 8-0. Okay, next I have a resolution authorizing payment of an invoice on project number 18 BPC 1, and this is for part of the milestone for the Springdale Municipal Campus, and it's for $1,776,092.66. This is coming out of the bond program.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further comments or questions? And again, we're doing this because it's an invoice over $1 million. Okay, Denise?
Evans?
Yes, ma'am.
Powell?
Yes.
Jaycox?
Yes.
Williams? Watson? Overton?
Yes.
Reed? Lawson?
Yes, ma'am.
Carries 8-0.
Item 11, Parks and Rec Committee, Chairman Mike Lawson. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. Parks and Rec met last week. We had one item before us. It was, I'll go ahead and read it. It's a resolution authorizing the creation of a new position for an employee to seek and apply for grants. Lori from the Senior Center actually came to us and talked about how shorthanded they were and how they would benefit greatly from the grant writing. And I think it was even said that other departments such as Chad and other areas would benefit greatly as well. And it did come with a recommendation for approval.
Okay.
Move the resolution pass.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. I think this is a great move.
This is.
And really appreciative of the grant.
Did we not also hear that this grant writer could also help other departments within the city?
Yes, she will
Other than-
she
in
will
addition to the
also,
senior center?
if,
Right.
I think that decision's been made, but anyway, that person will also have an office here in City Hall and spend time here as well as with the Senior Center and helping them in the Parks Department.
Do you think she could find us $54,000 to cover for my project?
And just to clarify, you see it in the resolution there because we had some questions. I think we got it straightened out Monday night. But it's a $35,000 grant, and the salary, grade 18, is right at that. So this should carry us through to the middle of next year with this, before we need to consider, be considered in the budget. But if it's working out, you'll probably see a budgeted position for half a year. Unless we can get another grant. Hey, you're a grant writer, right? Mm-hmm. Write your own grant. All right, roll call.
Powell?
Yes.
Jaycox?
Yes.
Williams? Watson?
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Reed. Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Evans.
Yes, ma'am.
Carries 8-0.
Good deal. Thank you, Police and Fire Committee Chairman Brian Powell. Brian?
Thank you, Mayor. Last Monday, the Police and Fire Committee met, and we have 3 resolutions coming forward. The first one is a resolution authorizing a grant of a water sewer easement to the Springdale Water and Sewer Commission across property owned by the City of Springdale and Benton County, Arkansas. And this property here is provide a water service for our fire station number 9.
I'll move the resolution pass.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and second to approve the resolution. Any other comments or questions? Okay, Denise?
Jaycox.
Yes.
Williams. Watson.
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Reed. Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Evans.
Yes, ma'am.
Powell.
Yes.
Carries 8-0.
Oh, also on B, 12B, we have a resolution accepting a grant authorizing additional personnel for our police department. This would be 3 more police officers to be hired for our schools. Chief Peters is here to elaborate on this grant and what it'd be used for.
We applied for a Department of Justice grant to add 3 school resource officer positions to the school district. Grant was approved. It pays the full salary and benefits minus expenses that the city can pick up. But it's for 3 years. The 4th year, we're required to leave them in there. The school district understands that and the requirements for paying their salary. There would be no cost to the salary and benefits. It would be just equipment that we have in our budget, uniforms and radios, stuff like that.
I'll move the resolution pass. Second. Sorry, Jim.
Okay, we have motion and second to approve the resolution. Any other comments or questions? Right, Denise?
Williams. Watson.
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Reed. Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Evans.
Yes, ma'am.
Powell.
Yes.
Jaycox.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next.
Might hang around, Chief.
Next, we have a resolution expressing support and appreciation for the Springdale Police Department. And we had talked about it before, and I had said before how much I appreciate our police department. I feel all of our council members do. I appreciate the resolution that we have before us, acknowledging our police officers, how important they are to this city, how we want to support our police department in every facet that they need to protect the citizens of Springdale. Y'all do a great, great job. I want to thank our city attorney for his help in writing this ordinance. It says a lot. It says our heart, I believe, what we stand for our city, and our residents should be very proud of our police department. We thank y'all very, very much.
Brian, is it possible that this resolution be actually read so the general public
Absolutely.
knows exactly what we're...
Ernest, would you mind reading that for us, please?
I don't mind a bit. This is a resolution expressing support for and appreciation of the Springdale Police Department. Whereas the Springdale Police Department provides safety and security to the residents of the city of Springdale. Whereas the Springdale Police Department and its officers invest substantial time in building relationships throughout our community and play a vital role in maintaining peace and stability within our city. Whereas police officers are often called upon to place themselves in dangerous situations in order to secure the safety of those they serve. The City of Springdale wishes to affirm and express its unwavering support for and appreciation of the Springdale Police Department. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council for the City of Springdale, Arkansas, that based on the foregoing, the City of Springdale hereby, 1, expresses its unwavering support for and appreciation of the men and women of the Springdale Police Department in their pursuit of preserving a safe and secure community. 2, recognizes the need to ensure that our law enforcement officers have the equipment, training, and resources that are necessary to protect the health and safety of the officers while the officers protect the public. 3, recognizes the law enforcement community for continual unseen acts of sacrifice and heroism, especially in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic crisis faced by the United States. 4, acknowledges that police officers and other law enforcement personnel
especially those who have made the ultimate sacrifice, should be remembered and honored. 5, expresses condolences and solemn appreciation to the loved ones of each law enforcement officer who has made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. 6, encourages the citizens of the city of Springdale to recognize the role played by the Springdale Police Department in keeping our community safe. And finally, wishes to promote awareness of the essential mission that law enforcement personnel undertake in service to their communities and the United States.
Move the resolution be adopted.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Any other questions or comments? I'm certain we've got, I'm going to let you speak, Chief, but we know, we recognize the difficult atmosphere that's going on around our country, and to some extent here, and certainly we want our officers, the men and women of our department, at every level to know that we support them, and we will continually do that in whatever way necessary.
First of all, I'd like to say that I'm very proud of our police department, each and every one of them. They come into work every day. They do their best to serve this community. And I have, since I've been here over 29 years, the city government has supported the police department. And I don't think any time more than right now. I mean, each and every one of you have called me, texted me, emailed me. I know you support us. This resolution means a lot. I've heard it from the officers. These communities that aren't supporting their police departments, it is hurting the morale, it is hurting retention, and this is a big deal to us, and I really appreciate it. I told the guys that this was probably going to happen an hour ago, and I've seen them coming and going, and they're busy, and we had a lot of them here earlier, but thank you very much. I do appreciate your support, and I know that every one of them do also.
Great. Thanks, Chief.
Watson?
Yes.
Overton?
Yes.
Reed? Yes. Lawson?
Yes, ma'am.
Evans?
Yes, ma'am.
Powell?
Yes.
Jaycox?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Carries 8-0.
I know, I think so too.
You never know for sure, but that was one I was pretty sure about. All right. Do we have any comments from our council members?
I want to make sure that we continue the discussion at our committee meeting next week.
Make sure, I will try, yeah, make sure we get it on for discussion. I think that's, that we need to do that. So, okay, thanks.
Could I make one comment? The Public Vehicle Commission is going to meet at committee next week. We have an application for another taxi cab company that our police department has reviewed, and I will forward it to the members of the council, but just so those who are on the committee know that it's coming forward, or the commission. You're welcome.
Okay, any other comments from council?
I'd like to say happy birthday to Kathy Jaycox.
Oh! Hey! Well.
35 again.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not going to go there.
Again, I love that
Great.
part.
Happy birthday, Kathy.
Thank you.
All right. Any comments from our city attorney?
No, sir.
Nothing from me. We got a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We are adjourned. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Not 35 again.